Would you please stand for the pledge? Jerry Sartain, would you lead us to the pledge, please? Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Color roll, please.
Gary Farley. Here. Joe Crowell. Jerry Sartain.
Here.
Joe Machado.
Here.
Michael Rather. Jared Barrett. Dane Cantrell.
Present.
We have a quorum.
You have the minutes of the last meeting. Are there any changes or additions to the minutes?
If nothing, I'll move to approve them.
Have a motion that be approved. Do we have a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. The minutes are approved. If we have anyone here that is present for the Tony and Gary Lamb request, that has been deferred until next month. So we will not have a public hearing on that request. The first item of business is a request by Donald Bruce, and this is on Rucker Road, who is asking for a temporary special exemption on a barrel pit. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you, Chairman Cantrell. Application 2015-03 is a request for temporary special exception for a burrow pit on the property located in the RM medium density zone. The property is located at 2789 Rucker Road. It consists of two parcels measuring a total of 76 acres. The applicant has been operating under a permit that was issued in 2014 for the excavation of this area along the river boundary or the rear boundary of his property. At the first hearing where he was considered, it was known that he would extend past the 6 to 9 months that's allowed under the temporary burrow pit permits, and that you would be considering this application again. The county engineer is here to answer any questions you might have regarding any of the inspections or issues we may have encountered with this application. Now we posted a sign on the property and notified residents within 500 feet. These are photos of the surrounding area. To my knowledge, we have not received any direct complaints related to the operations of the burrow pit. However, since we have sent out public notice and posted a sign on the property, we have received numerous phone calls in opposition, citing concerns with dust, traffic, noise, and property values. Now, we have addressed some of those issues in the conditions of the permit. Dust and noise, those types of things are taken into consideration, and if we get any complaints during those operations, we at least give the applicant an opportunity to remedy or correct the situation. However, we have not been made aware of any during the operation of the burrow pit, except for today. Now, this is a plan that was submitted last year, and Mr. Bruce would like to continue using the same plan. He's not asking to extend any of the areas for excavation. He's maintaining the boundaries as shown on the plan. And if there's any additional information that would be needed, the county engineer could require it and require him to supply it. He has posted a bond for any repairs for any damage to Rucker Road. However, a lot of the finishing touches you would not see until the excavation is complete, because it just would not make sense to stabilize the pond walls or anything until the actual permit or work area to be excavated is completed. And that concludes our presentation.
Ike, have you inspected this area?
Our inspectors have. They've been out there.
Make sure you're talking to
Yes,
the
sir.
mic.
Our stormwater inspector was there 2 weeks ago, and he said it's in fairly good order. There was a little tracking on the road, but not enough to cause a big issue. But we would like to ask that they get a letter of credit. The performance bond they have does not have an expiration date, but it is tied to the previous BZA case, and we don't like performance bonds anymore. We would like a letter of credit that's auto renewing. Excuse me. And also we're asking that he update his land disturbance permit. It expired last year, so we need to get that updated too.
Mr. Chairman, Mike, let me ask you a question. During the time period that this has been approved, how many follow-up inspections has your all's office did to follow up and see if there's any violations, even though there hadn't been any complaints? But how
We try to do once a month, monthly inspections, and we hadn't had any big issues with it. I have received one phone call myself, but that was the notice for the BZA meeting itself, and it was more of a request for information.
I got a question for whoever might be able to answer this. In the county or state one, I think there's a law that says you have to have a cover over rock anyway, going down the road. Am I right?
Cover over
A
rock.
cover. These dump trucks have to have a cover.
Yes, sir, you do. Yes, sir.
How about dirt?
Any dump truck's supposed to have a cover on it,
Oh.
so it.
Are these trucks covered that's coming in and out of Rooker Road?
I have not been aware that they have or not. I haven't been out there when they've seen the trucks come and go.
So that covers dirt also. They're supposed to be covered when
Yes,
they
sir.
move it up down the roads.
Anytime they leave to hit on the road, they have to be covered.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Does the water flow from that area back to the river?
Yes, sir, generally it does. That's kind of in a horseshoe bend, so it kind of breaks both ways. But
And
yes,
he
sir.
does have all of his environmental barriers
He's
in
got the
there?
silt fence around, and he's pulled it back 150 feet from the perimeter, and he also has a stream buffer along the edge that he's maintaining.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mike?
Just one, the bond that they do for the road, we've approved these in past years where there's some of them to this day that are not, the remediation is not done, for as the slopes and planting the grass seed and getting them all back to normal.
Are we talking about the road, or are we talking about the
Well,
site itself?
My question is, the road bond has nothing to do, there's no bond for the remediation.
Right, and I'll talk with Mr. Bruce, and we'll add a little bit in there for remediation too, because right now this one just covers road.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have anyone here representing this request? If you do, please come around at this time.
Members of the board, and Mr. Chairman, Manley Thweet with Huddleston Steel Engineering. I don't know if I have anything else to add to the discussion that's been said so far, but if you do have any further questions, I'll sure try to help.
I guess so. Are your trucks covered?
Mr. Bruce, the trucks are covered with the top over.
How many loads a day is coming out of that pit?
An average maybe of 4 to 5 a day, but there's been times where there's been nothing, rainy periods, that kind of thing. Apparently for the first couple of months of this period, there wasn't any because of the weather.
Peak
But,
time in the summer, how many loads is coming a day out?
Upwards of 10.
Sir,
That's the application has just a maximum of 10
maximum of 10 per day.
per day. Yes, sir.
Right.
What about blasting? Do you plan any blasting?
No blasting, no, sir.
No blasting whatsoever?
No blasting.
Gary, go
And I
ahead.
apologize, it may be in here and I just didn't see it, but how long are you asking for it to extend this?
The same amount of time, perhaps 6 months, and then up to the 9.
You anticipate it going even further than that?
We have, It was a 7.6 acre pit to start with, and I think we've done 3 acres of it, 2 acres right now, 2 acres. So, about 3 more times or so, a double time would be 4 acres, and so you're talking about at least 1 more time.
So it could be another year and a half.
It could be, yes, sir, and that depends on the weather.
Any other questions of their engineer? Thank you. Go ahead.
All right.
Yes, sir.
What happens to this pit when he finishes?
He has to reclaim the area, to stabilize it, make sure there's no erosion or anything like that, make sure that vegetation reclaims the area.
This huge hole, will it be a fence around it?
I believe it's to be a farm pond. I don't
farm
think that
pond.
a fence was mentioned earlier.
Okay, thank you.
We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this. If you'll come around, give your name and any information. We please ask you to try to keep your comments within the 3-minute range.
Yes, I'm Russell Simonson, and my sister, Sandra Simonson, we both own properties. I guess my sister's right in front of where Mr. Bruce is working, and I wanted to go ahead and read a statement from my sister, but we both are opposed to this, and I'll go ahead and read my sister's statement first. I, Sandra Simonson, at 2800 Rucker Road, am opposed to the proposed changes to 2789 applied for by Don Bruce. I see this as having a very negative impact on the community. Reasons for my objections is the devaluating of the surrounding properties, which directly affects me. The trucks are dangerous running through these narrow roads on Rucker, and the potential health risks from the standing water and stagnation, the mosquitoes, the loud noise that's affected my sister. I mean, we've put up with 6 months of this, and my sister works in the evening, so it's hard for her because she's directly across the street from it. And she's saying all last spring and summer she had to put up with this, and we've been tolerant of it, but they're wanting to put it out another year and a half, and she says, as a member of the community and a taxpayer, she said she wants you to please take all these things in consideration. She said she'd like to keep her community nice and safe, for all the people around. And then I'd like to say my objections is, number one is I don't know, he's going to have a big hole back there. Somebody in the community, a kid or something, could wander back in there. If it's not going to be fenced, what would happen if they was to fall in this hole? And, another objection of mine is property values. Nobody wants to live around a place that's got holes and mosquitoes. I mean, it's just not a friendly environment. And, it does infect our travel as far as the dirt and debris on the road. And I've had trouble with the dump trucks as far as going through. I mean, I know it's a narrow road and they're trying their best, but a lot of times they're over the line. I'm trying to take the corner of the road, and it's not a road designed for what these heavy commercial trucks are. But I appreciate y'all listening. And
thank you. Anyone else?
Good afternoon. My name is James Avent, and I live at 2656 Rucker Road, within the 500 yards of the excavation. I like to say that I have looked on the web and had an assessment of environmental hazards linking to abandoned burial pits. And I like to state that erosion initiated by the active and or abandoned burial pits in no small measure affects environmental quality and safety. The soil characteristics and the geographical setup of a study area has enhanced or incurred in erosion and all activity or landslides of burial pits. I also just been there a year or 2 years, and I would like to say that I heard the young lady make her assessment and the young man make the assessment of the equipment of every last year. But I like to say that just this last summer, the trucks come up and down that way, have no tarps. They have one mud flap, if any, and the road, from when they come out of there with that mud, it has no sweepers past beyond the 500 yard. Also like to say this right here. Abandoned burial pits, which this one has no fencing around it, it just has a truck around it saying keep out. That doesn't keep kids from going back there with all that vegetation and stale water and mosquitoes and this type of thing to keep them from drowning. And there's one rental property from which I'm told that's owned by the man who's doing the work. I'll give you an example of in 1968 when I left here and went in the Navy, back in 60 years ago, Old National Highways, Old 41, and which is known as Broad Street, New 41, from where Thompson Lane crosses Old 41 to 840 is an area between them both, where now is the rock quarry, which is a gravel pit. The only reason why they stopped digging is because they struck water on both sides, which is a lake. I had a cousin who almost drowned off in that pit because we were just kids and this type of thing. So I would like to say this right here. Even though that's going to be active back there, you're not going to stop young kids from going back there close to that river and that pit. There's no fence. It's back in the Old National Highway there. There's nothing but it's a jungle. Nothing's there but the cemetery of dead people, and killed the whole community. If you noticed, and I'm sure that the engineer can attest to that. But this right here, it kills the whole community, and you talk about single homes. From one side of Rucker Road to South Rucker, all the way to your main curve down at the end, those not single homes. Those, all of us has property in the value of $250,000. And in order to put up a single property and say that you are going to put a shed there, I beg to differ. So I would just like to say, take it in your consideration, if that hole or that borrow pit, which you complete the soil, what would you fill it with? A landfill. That's the only thing you can fill it with. So take that in consideration of an abandoned borrow pit which infests mosquitoes and other vegetation. And I'll tell you this right here, when you pass by there, just the engineers, take a look at those trucks when they come by there. Get a safety inspection on them. We can say anything, but actually take it there. You went out there, but this summer, just take a look. When you went out there, if it hadn't rained, you would see tracks from a tank from one end to the other. There's noise and everything else. just like to say that as a homeowner of a
Can you show
$250,000.
us kind of where you live?
I live right here in those two little sections right here where it says Rucker Road, where the red line is, two little small, I own 3.8 acres right there, and everything else is like 5 acres. And the lady next to me has 3 something, come over just a little bit to your left, a little over there. I live right there.
Okay, thank
And
you.
that's where the shed is over there, which rental properties on this side. It's all flood line back on the other side. But on the other side, it's not. But if you also take, I had an inspector to take my property and check, which I found out, the engineer, there's a natural sinkhole on my side where it collects and nothing can be done about it. So if you go to that flood zone and take that soil away from there, that's gonna only add to the flood zone. With it being abandoned, then what you gonna have? You can't fill it with anything if you take the soil. What can you take?
Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else? Do we have others that are here for this?
I think in the first round of this, is it not going to be a reservoir of some sort? It's not going to be abandoned?
That was what the application was, to be a farm pond. Once it's completed, will be filled with water.
So the surrounding drainage and such is capable of doing that? The water can go to it and fill it up?
Sure.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
My name is Josh Cannon. I'm working for Mr. Bruce, working on the project here. And I was just going to address some of the concerns that the last 2 individuals had. The property is all fenced, the perimeter of the whole property, and that should keep anybody from coming on the property. And the actual excavating site pit will be a pond. The slopes are what's required for a pond to allow somebody to walk in and walk out. They're not going to be straight up and down. They're going to be sloped. The depth of it is probably 6 feet, for the most part, maybe, 5 in some places. So it's not real deep. And it's going to have slope sides to where you could mow it with the lawnmower or a tractor. It's not going to be like a rock quarry or anything. And the trucks that come out of there are required to, tarp their loads as required by law around here.
Wait just a minute. Now, we're not going to have a discussion that way, back and forth. This is a public hearing. You need to say your thing and come back with it, okay? Let me ask you one thing here, and I'm concerned about this in any time that we have construction anywhere in our county. When those trucks come out of there, do you take into consideration the mud they're putting on the highway, and do you have a way to get that off of there? So many of our construction sites, they don't seem to be concerned about that. And barrel pits need to be mindful that when your trucks come out of there, they have mud on the wheels, and you need to have a way to make sure that that mud gets off of the highway the best you can.
Yes, sir. The road back to the site is about a mile long, a gravel road. So if they do get any mud, most of that mud stays on site by them traveling that mile. And we have equipment to remove any mud that might get on the road. And we try to limit the operation of the site to just dry days to combat that. That's why it's taken us a little longer than we like, because we've been, days when we could dig, but it might be a little muddy for the trucks. We choose not to keep the track off the road.
Any questions? Joe?
When you say the perimeter is fenced, are you saying the perimeter around where you're digging the burrow pit, or around the whole area?
The whole area, the whole property is fenced, and there's also a cross fence about halfway back that divides the whole property, so it's actually dual layered.
I guess my question is what kind of fence, because I was out there today and I seen a pickup truck that was crossways of a road right there. Looks like where your trucks have been coming in and out, and I didn't see any fence over in that area.
Well, it's fenced down the left and right side, the old farm fence that was on the property. There's not like a construction fence or anything.
Where are the trucks coming in and out? Are they coming in and out where that truck was across the highway there?
Yes, sir.
And across that
Yes.
graveled area?
And there's a gate and a fence further back as you travel down that road.
Okay. All right. I just knew there wasn't any out front.
Gary?
Since you said you're working for Mr. Bruce, and who is overseeing and holding the truck drivers and the vehicles accountable for making sure they got tarps on, making sure that they got flaps, making sure that the dirt's off the road? Who is overseeing and holding people accountable for this?
Mr. Bruce is.
How often is Mr. Bruce out there?
Just about every day that we're excavating.
And
If he's not, I am. Somebody's there every day.
all right, how are you all inspecting these trucks? And are they owner-operated trucks? Are they Mr. Bruce's trucks? Who employs these people?
They are customers that are, purchasing the dirt, but they're all licensed and, by the laws of the TDOT or whoever's in charge of them.
But are y'all holding them accountable for their actions as far as not following the guidelines that's set up in this?
Yes. If they break any of the rules, they're no longer allowed on the site as far as tarps or anything else.
And you all are doing that now and following up on that?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Earlier, it was spoken that about 2 acres of the site had been, was done. So have you done any remediation for that 2 acres to kind of put it back to where it is, it's going to be, instead of waiting until the whole thing's done? In other words, so it doesn't look so bad for everybody else.
Yes, the 2 acres, or just a little bit less of the 2 acres, has been sloped and planted with grass. It currently is full of water, so it's back like it should be.
Well, I heard 2 things in the former questions. I heard you say that you guys are watching the trucks, but then I heard you say that, well, they're doing whatever TDOT and such would make them do. I hope you understand that what your permit from us is expecting you to take care of that.
Well, we do take care of that as far as our site, them coming on our site and leaving in accordance with the law. But once they leave there, we're making sure they're tarped and the trucks are licensed and everything like that.
Go ahead.
Is he running livestock on this property?
Not at this time, no, sir.
Do you know if there's plans for that?
I do not.
Typically what a farm pond is for the livestock, so I was just curious. Mike, I have a couple questions for you. I noticed in the application that it made reference to this helping in a floodway. My glasses aren't strong enough for me to see this paper. Are you aware that there's a floodway back in that area?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Have you looked at that, what they're doing, and does it help flooding in that area?
It adds capacity to the floodway, storage, but if I were to do this today, I probably wouldn't want it in the floodway. The floodway is the area of the floodplain that has the highest velocity in heavy storms. So if they were coming to me today, I probably wouldn't allow it right there.
My only other question, I know the city requires this. Does the county require like a construction entrance there at the road with the
Yes.
big gravel to get the mud off the tires, or at least help with that? The county requires that as well. That's part of y'all's inspection when you go out there to make sure that's
Built
kept up?
fences and construction entrance, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Yeah.
Going by what you just said, Mike, you just said if this was today, you would not recommend it because it's.
If it was a brand new project, I wouldn't. No, sir. See, in the floodplain, it's the area of the 100-year storm. The water spreads out to that immense. If you were to take that and squeeze that water in, it would raise 1 foot, and that's the area of the highest velocity. It's around the channel where.
But even though it's already been done before, does it make it, by you saying that, does it make it right for us to do it again and legally?
Well, I mean, there's no. I don't think there's county rules against it, but it's just not good practice.
And I wasn't here at that time, but was this floodway there at last time? And
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
I assume so. I don't know. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, the previous engineer probably had a different one. So.
Thank you. You may be seated. Anyone else? The public hearing's still open. Anyone who has not had a chance to speak? Wait just a minute. We'll close the public hearing. Go ahead.
I got a question for Mike.
Yes, sir.
I'm not understanding. If you got this hole in the ground near the river overflows into that hole. What does that do? It takes some of the water out of the river. Well, what does it do that's wrong?
Well, if it's not stabilized, that sediment, silt, whatever, could be resuspended into the
river.
Into the river,
Okay,
yes, sir.
I understand you now.
Okay, we need to consider what we're going to do with this. We need a motion on it, but let me say this. This can't keep going on forever. So if we're going to approve this and give them a chance to rectify what they're doing out there, we need to put a time limit on that and let Mr. Bruce know that this is going to be it. And it's not going to be extended on, and let the people out there know that it's not going to be extended. So that would be my recommendation to you. But then I don't make the motions, you guys do. So let's keep that into consideration. This has been going on long enough, and probably we need to look at a point down the road where we need to say, this is the end of it if you want to do it. And you make it, if you turn it down tonight, it'll be the end of it tonight. So I'll open this for a discussion or a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to make a motion. I got to get something clear in my mind what we just talked about. With this floodway there, what can it create? What problems can it create by it being there, and with this?
Well, if a big storm comes along and stirs up the sediment and silt, that can be transported downstream and cause problems.
We're going to have more and more of those.
Are you saying during this process or after it's already finished?
Well, after it's already stabilized, it won't be such a big problem. But if it's an open extraction pit, it could cause problems.
So let me make sure I understand this right. In other words, if we have a big storm or whatever now, there's a chance of this getting into the waterway, which is the middle fork of the Stones River, which is behind
There's
it.
normal sediment deposited naturally, but when you have an open pit, it's more likely to occur.
I thought they had barriers up to stop all of that.
Well, they do, but I mean the 100-year flood elevation has the ability
Would
to
go
go
above
up
the
and over
barriers.
that. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And knock them down too. I mean that's the velocity is so high in these areas sometimes.
But being it's in the floodway, and I guess for future references, when someone comes in with a burrowing pit and it's in the floodway, you wouldn't think it would be a good idea to start one there?
No, sir.
Okay, just for future references.
Usually you want to leave the floodway alone. Just leave it alone and just, not bother it.
Thank you.
Mike, when you say a big storm, how many inches of rain are you talking about?
We're talking, a 100-year storm is like almost 8 inches. So, I mean, the 2010 was well above that, and I'm sure this was.
I just want to clarify that because a big storm around here could be an inch of rain to.
In some places, yes, sir.
Yeah.
It can be. Yes, sir. And with our saturated ground, it can be.
Public hearing's closed.
One final question for me. Been on this board now since '92, and traditionally these type of things, when we would get the explanation from the engineer, he would make comments like, if they're taking soil from this area, it actually provides more storage.
Well,
for-
it's true.
for
It
flood.
will. It
So
will.
how does that not apply now?
It will apply. I mean, but it's, the floodplain is flood storage. And when you're digging out a bigger pit, you're providing more storage. But when it's open is the issue I have.
I say, your concern is while the process is going on,
Yes, sir.
not after it's
Yes, sir.
finished.
When it's stabilized, vegetated, I don't have a big issue with it.
But if it's full of water, then it's not extra storage then, right?
No, sir. But I mean, it won't, if it's full to the rim, it would not provide any extra storage. But there's usually some capacity.
Thanks for clarifying. Thank you.
Ready for a motion on this?
Looks to me like we've got to do something to let him finish it, but I don't think we have to do it forever. I'd make a motion that he finish it by October 31st this year.
We have a motion on the floor.
I'll second it if there's no extension past October.
Okay. Any discussion? That's 6 months. Give them 6 months. That's what the motion is. You want to talk about it?
I'd like to talk about the motion that's on the floor. So that's actually giving him 7 months.
If it's approved tonight, with the extension, it could get up to 9 months. So you're cutting it to 7. Okay, got you. With no extension. Okay. There's several things that I'm really concerned about out there. And number one is getting mud on the highway, okay? And ruining the highways. And the people who live out there have to drive into that mess and get it all over their cars, and it creates a problem. Another thing are the storms that come through here. I know there are merchants of doubt about global warming who have no data and no scientific background, but we're going to see more and more of these storms in our area, according to the data. So that river is going to come up, and it's going to get into there, and that's going to be another big problem. So I'm concerned about that. Gary?
And the concern I've got is, it was stated that they're actually holding the truckers accountable. I'm really not, and I'm not trying to call anybody that are not telling the truth and like it. I'm not saying that. I have not seen proof that they are holding these people accountable to make sure that those truckers are doing what's they've got to be doing to abide by this application. And I want to put it back on to Mr. Bruce and staff. Somehow we need to make sure that these people are being held accountable for their actions by not cleaning the roads, by not having tarps, by not having the safety issues out there. Some way that we possibly can do that. That's my concern, and I'm not really it hadn't been explained to me and proved that people are being held accountable out there.
Yes, sir. And anytime we can get a call, I mean, would be helpful. We have limited staff, but anytime the neighbors have a concern or issue, just give us a call, give the building and codes, zoning enforcement a call. We'll gladly.
What I'd like to do is I'd like to have the residents do that, do the phone calls, and when one of the inspectors is in that territory, drive by.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Drive by.
It's on his routine schedule to go by and check it out.
Joe?
Well, I guess the biggest concern that I have is the same thing Gary does, but I guess I'm going to appeal to the neighbors out there that if we do approve this, that if they see things going on, the roads and things like that, they need to make sure that they call planning and
Engineering.
express their concerns to the people in the planning department so we can put a stop to whatever's not going on that's supposed to be going on, okay?
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Harry Farley,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Mashoto,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion is approved. The next item of business we have is a request by Richard Reeves. This is 950 Jefferson Pike, and this is temporary special exemption approval for the barrel pit that's going on out there next to the landfill. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2015-4 is a request for special exception, which is temporary for a borough pit with relief from the area requirements for borough pits in the RM zone. You've seen this request before, and they are asking to proceed with the same conditions that have been established within the original temporary special exception, and they're not asking to change any of those. However, it was known at the time that this would be a several-year project. The main difference this borough pit has with most of the borough pits that we process is that there is no truck traffic, or loaded trucks will not be leaving this particular site. They actually have an access road to the landfill, which does not make it necessary that trucks enter Jefferson Pike. The site is 215 acres, and it's located around the Riverwalk subdivision and adjacent to the landfill. We have not received any complaints regarding the work that's been done under this request. We've received 2 informational phone calls. No one indicated any issues with the borough pit. They typically ask about the adjacent property, which is owned by the landfill. And these are the surrounding properties. We always post 3 signs to make sure that it's visible that this application is under consideration. And the applicant's agent is here to address the project itself in more detail, and that concludes my presentation.
This is where it goes directly into the landfill. You know, they've been using this for some time. Mike, do you have know of any issues? I'm sure you've inspected the site.
Sir. Yes, sir. No issues on this site. They do have a valid letter of credit that's auto-renewing, so that doesn't need any work, and they do have a valid land disturbance permit, so they're in good order with both of those.
Okay. Joe?
Does the river get over this one?
It does, but I don't think the floodplain is an issue on this one. I'll have to double check that. I'm not aware that it is. The plan didn't call for it. Floodplain, but not flood zone, the floodway. The other one was the actual floodway, that with the higher the floodway with the actual velocity. So, okay, it's not in it. Daniel had to map that. So, yeah, part of it's in the floodplain where the water will spread out, but it's not the higher velocity area, the floodway.
Do we have anyone here representing this request?
Good evening. I'm Ted Goodman from Murphy & Murphy Attorneys. We represent the applicants in this matter, Richard Reeves and his wife, Joan Reeves. Next slide, please. Again, this is a request for the renewal of the special exception permit that allows the Reeveses to conduct borrow pit activities on their property in order to sell clay to the BFI property which adjoins them, which is a necessary part of the landfill operations. Next slide, please. The applicants are Richard Reeves and his wife, Joan Reeves, and it is 215.66 acres on East Jefferson Pike, directly adjacent to the BFI property. Next slide, please. This is a survey showing the property that you've seen before. This is the BFI property here. This is East Jefferson Pike. This is the Riverwalk subdivision, and the areas and hatch marks are the areas that the borrow pits that have already been approved by the BZA that we're requesting to have renewed tonight. Next slide, please. Again, this does not extend the life or scope of the landfill. The clay is normally trucked in using the public roads. So BFI would inevitably get the clay from some other source. What this does do is it allows BFI to get the clay from the Reeves property, take it directly across the fence without ever going on the roads, thus removing about 50 dump truck trips a day from the public roads leading to the BFI site. Next slide, please. This will, over the life of the project, remove about 60,000 dump truck trips from the roads, which will preserve the road surfaces, reduce the possibility of traffic accidents with the dump trucks, and reduce congestion on the public roads. Next slide, please. Mr. Reeves has made a number of commitments to his neighbors and to the county and to this board. Those commitments and promises are in writings on file with the Planning Commission. He renews, reaffirms, and will continue to honor all of those commitments. Next slide, please. Highlights of some of those commitments: excavation will occur from only one 5-acre section or less at a time. Prior to extracting the clay, the topsoil will be removed and stored on site, and then after the activities are complete on each 5-acre section, the topsoil will be returned and the property will be reseeded to restore it. Next slide. No blasting will occur during the project. All dump trucks and service trucks involved in the project are prohibited from entering or exiting the property through any residential neighborhood, and excavation occurs only during daylight hours. Next slide. The applicant will continue to utilize extensive efforts to prevent dust, erosion, and air pollution, and these efforts will remain in place throughout the entire project. Next slide. All borrow pits are set back at least 150 feet from all residential property lines and at least 50 feet from all other property lines. The idea is 6 months after the project is complete, the land will appear undisturbed. Next slide. The BZA retains extensive oversight at the end of each permitting period, which is 6 months with the potential of a 3-month extension, administrative extension where required to come back to the BZA as we're doing tonight and request renewal. This allows the BZA to continue to police the applicant's fulfillment of their obligations and commitments and promises to the neighbors, to the county, and to this board. Thank you.
Have any questions?
How many acres so far have you borrowed out there of the 70.9?
Mr. Reeves, do you know about how many acres we've borrow pitted? It's about 20.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
I make a motion to approve, Mr.
Have a
Chairman.
motion to be approved. Have a second.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. It is
Motion
approved.
carries.
The next item we have is the King property, and this is a request for accessory structure before the principal structure is built. What do you have on this, please?
Thank you. Application 2015-5 is a request for special exception approval for the establishment of an accessory structure before the principal structure for a property located in the RL zone. The site is a 3.5-acre parcel located along Wade Road, and the applicant intends to establish his primary residence upon the property. Actually, it is his intention to establish his future residence within the structure that he is asking approval for. At this time, he is not ready to establish the dwelling unit within the structure, but he would like to establish the accessory structure first in order to store personal items in the pole barn until he is ready to establish the residence. We have not received any, I think we received one informational call on this, but there was no opposition in regards to the request. It's a fairly large parcel. The applicant proposes to place the pole barn more than 100 feet off of the front property line. He's already identified where his septic soils are, and he did provide us an elevation of what the structure will resemble. It will not be as large as the structure that you see with the second floor, but it is his intentions to give it like a residential style elevation because it is will be his residence at some point. And that concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. You'll give us your name and any additional information you'd like to add.
Boris King, and that was pretty much it.
Any questions of Mr. King?
Mr. King, about how long do you think it'll be before you start a permanent structure?
This fall.
Thank you.
So, you do plan on building a home there?
Absolutely.
Okay. And this is going to be for your own personal storage. Is that right?
For now.
Pardon?
Just for now.
Yeah.
Until it's ready.
There will be no work going on there, just storage. Is that what you plan on?
Work? Is that what oh, no, yeah. Yes, sir. That's
Okay.
correct.
Thank you. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
I move to approve it.
Okay, have a motion to be approved.
Second.
Have a second. Call a roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes, it is approved. The next item we have is a request for a community center assembly, and this is for a special exemption. And what do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2015-07 is a request for special exception approval, allowing the establishment of a community assembly facility with a maximum occupancy of 150 to 500 persons on the property located in the RM zone. The applicant is Walnut Grove Baptist Church, and the acreage of the site is 13.41 acres. It's located between John Bragg Highway and Woodbury Pike. Directly across John Bragg Highway, which is a two-lane divided highway, 4 lanes, is a church itself on a slightly smaller parcel. And then you have the Woodbury Pike, which has a combination of agricultural, residential, and commercial neighborhood uses. The site, they will have to go through site plan review and hire the services of an engineer. That it will have to be laid out in accordance with all the land development regulations for a non-residential use in the RM zone. Though it appears to be ample in size and should not have any issues with being able to meet buffering requirements, parking requirements, and those types of standards. We have received a couple informational calls, but no one has indicated any opposition to the request. We posted signs on the property. And we find that it meets the criteria for the establishment of a community assembly area. And
Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. I notice we have a lot of the members of the church out there, and just to recognize them, if those of you that are members of the church, would you please stand at this time? Thank you for coming out. We encourage you to be a part of this type of operation, and good luck to you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. My name is Richard Seibert. I'm the pastor of the Walnut Grove Missionary Baptist Church. And before we had anticipated on building a church, we went out and canvassed the neighborhood of surrounding residents, and they were highly in favor of putting a new church in that area. So we do have the consent of the neighborhood.
Thank you. Any questions? We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to come around.
Yes, I'm Benny Baxter, neighbor to the church. I like to say I don't have any opposition, but I do have a couple of concerns. Mainly, there's a church across the road now, would be the sound if there's a buffer or, and also a fence, because I have a pond on my property next to it, just a few 100 feet away. And I was just concerned about that because there's not a fence and the kids or somebody getting in a pond and getting, that's my biggest thing.
I'm sure they would be good neighbors and we'll talk to you about that.
Okay.
Thank you. We appreciate your comment. Anyone else? Close the public hearing. Do we have a motion on it?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the
We
request.
have a motion to be approved. Second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. It is approved.
We'd like to thank you for approving this measure, and this is a good birthday present for me.
Thank you. Good luck to all of you. Do we have anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, we are adjourned.